If something happened to you today, you got into a car accident, your house is on fire, or even worse, you pass away, would your loved ones know how to claim from your insurer? You guys know I always encourage you to make sure that you have insurance in place. But what happens after you've taken out the insurance and now the unfortunate happens? What do you do to make sure that your claims are accepted so that you don't suffer financially on top of suffering from the event that took place? If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Itumeleng. I'm a qualified management accountant, and on this channel, I help ordinary people like you learn how to start saving money, get out of debt, invest, and ultimately build wealth. If that is something you're interested in, please do subscribe and become a part of our growing rich family. Old Mutual recently released their claim stats for 2025. According to the stats, 94% of claims were paid out. But today I want to talk about the elephant in the room, the remaining 6%. Why were some of those claims not paid out? Today I'll take you through some of the reasons that could lead to your claim being rejected, so you don't end up being part of that 6%. Some of the reasons that could lead to your claim being rejected include incomplete or incorrect information. Make sure that when you take out your policies, you are honest, you provide honest information so that you don't need to constantly guess, what did I tell them? Because if you submit information that is different from what your insurer has on your records, that could lead to some delays or even worse, rejection of your claim. So make sure that your information with your insurer is always up to date. For example, some of you come to me and you stay in Midrand and your finances don't really allow, and I'll say something like, you need to move to Tembisa down the road. If you do that, if you do move to Tembisa, update your address with your insurer, because imagine now you move to Tembisa, good choice. You move to Tembisa, but then you don't update your address with your insurer, and then something happens and your insurer says, what? No, you are supposed to be in Midrand. No, we are not going to pay out. That can be a make or break. So always make sure that your details are up to date and they're correct. If you are in Tembisa, you moved from Sandton to Tembisa, make sure that you update that with your insurer. Another thing that can affect your insurance claim is missing documents. We used to laugh at our parents when they used to have, an envelope that they put under the bed with all important documents, and we used to think, oh, parents are just extreme. I think it's time we get on that train, because we are the new parents, we are the new adults. Have a file, whether it's on your laptop, whether it's in your safe or, old school, under your bed. Have an envelope where you keep all important documents. It can be your current insurance policy, all the important documents. What is the name of your insurer? What are you insured for? How much are you insured for? And let your loved ones know that in case something happens to you, they must look under the bed. They are going to get all the information that they need, so they know where to go and get help, make claims in those very crucial times. Another thing that can affect your claim is waiting periods. I don't like waiting periods. If I get my cover today and I die tomorrow, pay my children. So know what the waiting period for your specific cover is, so that, if you take out the insurance today and something happens to you tomorrow, you don't even bother trying to claim, because you just automatically know, unfortunately, you will not be covered. And that brings me to the next point, knowing what your policy covers. Some things are not covered by your policy, but you will still try to claim them because you have not read your policy in detail to understand what is exactly covered. So you need to make sure you understand what your policy covers, what it doesn't cover. What are the terms? They want you to die a certain way and not die a certain way. You must not be in a certain place at a certain time. Your death must not be as a result of you being part of a protest. All those terms, read your policy and know what you're signing for, because you don't want to be shocked when you try to claim and your claim is rejected. Last but definitely not least, make sure your premiums are up to date. I cannot stress this enough. Make sure that you pay your premiums on time. If something happens, for some reason you are unable to pay, call your insurer, find out what your options are, understand the grace period, make sure that you understand what your policy says. I know a lot of people, when they are going through financial difficulties, the very first thing they cut off or neglect or stop paying is insurance, and that is such a big mistake. If for some reason you are under financial constraints, you are genuinely unable to pay, speak to your insurer. Find out what steps you can take instead of just saying it's a bad month this month, I have a lot going on, so I'm just going to leave out my insurance, or I'm going to reverse the debit order, which is very common. Don't reverse your debit order. Speak to your insurer first. There might be some options available that can still accommodate you in those times, especially since you guys know about the insurance case. We like to say that once you cancel your insurance, the very next day something happens to you that requires you to claim from insurance, and then your claim is rejected, or you can't even claim because you missed your premiums. So make sure that you're not part of the insurance case. I don't know if it's a real thing or it's just a myth, but it's a myth that I've seen like materialize one too many times. So make sure you don't fall into that trap and pay your premiums in time. If you have to reduce your cover, you have to reduce your premiums, by all means speak to your insurer, but missing your premiums is just not an option. And if the insurance case does unfortunately fall on you, you know what you're going to say when your claim is rejected and people say, just call your insurer and they will fix this. You're going to say, man, insurance companies, they'll find any reason not to pay. They just don't want to pay. But these stats by Old Mutual having paid out 94% of claims, I think they challenge that narrative that insurance companies just don't want to pay. So we need to make sure that we have our ducks in a row so that in case of unfortunate events, we don't have to worry about the incident and also worry about the money and possibly even get to a point where you have to take out debt. Because just think about the 6% whose claims were not paid out. Those families still had to find other ways to cover the costs that they were relying on that claim for. And that is how a lot of people find themselves in debt. So we want to try to avoid that as much as we can, because you guys know we don't like debt around here, especially for things that could have been avoided. So make sure your premiums are up to date, documents, information, all up to date. Make sure your family is informed on what to do when they need to claim. My husband likes to make a joke when he can't reach me, when he calls me and I don't answer. When I eventually get back to him, he says, oh, you are alive? I was about to call your life insurer and just get my money. And it should be like that. Your loved ones must always know what to do. If you pass away, for example, you don't want your loved ones to be worrying about mourning you and also having to worry about how they are going to bury you, how they are going to survive once you're gone, especially when you do have a cover and it just comes down to those small details. So please make sure you have those little details covered so that they don't affect you and your family negatively when it matters most. A big thank you to Old Mutual for sponsoring this video. If you found value in this episode, please give it a big like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with someone that might need it. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, I hope you have a rich day.